But there are two decisions that will impact both the longevity and the potential of that prosperity in that practice.
Welcome to AMC. I'm Dr. Greg Miller. We're in a series on starting a practice. But Doc, let me tell you, if you're already in practice, this topic of market and location with Tom Owen, it's worth giving a listen to. Let's go ahead and get started.
In the process of opening a chiropractic practice, there'll be thousands of choices and decisions that you will have to make. Everything from picking the equipment to financing to new patient acquisition, right down to the color of the walls in your office. Most of those, even if we make the wrong choice, won't affect the longevity or the potential of that practice. And even if it does, we can make adjustments down the road. But there are two decisions that will impact both the longevity and the potential of that prosperity in that practice. And it's factors that not everybody gives the right consideration to, and they don't have the right insight provided to them to make the right decision. Those are choosing the right market and the right location. What I'd like to do is just spend a few minutes with you. Let's talk about these factors, because choosing the right market can't be based on convenience. It shouldn't be based on convenience. Convenience meaning, well, this is where I currently live, or this is where I grew up. Just because you grew up there doesn't mean it's the best potential for a chiropractic practice. Or we don't want to choose this area just because I just signed a new lease on my apartment, or this is where my spouse has a good job. Again, just because your spouse has a good job in the area does not mean it has great potential for a chiropractic practice. We certainly don't want to make choices of markets based on desires of living near the beach. All right? I'm not saying you can't be successful opening a practice in a beach town, but I will tell you it's going to be more difficult than making the decision based on the potential of a drawing area of a particular market that maybe is an hour from the beach, inland, where it has a larger drawing area that's not as competitive with the number of DCs that are in the area. For example, if you did open a practice at the beach, let's talk about one factor, drawing area, right? You just cut the drawing area to that location in half, because most people don't come in from the sea on boats to see you. Plus, you're going to be depressed the entire time you're practicing at a beach, because you're watching people outside your window walk past you with beach towels and surfboards, and you're stuck in there. So I always think of it this way. If I'm going to live where I want to vacation, where do I have left to vacation? Rather than let's choose the market for the right reason, and then I have the most potential and I can practice where the opportunity is, and then I can live and vacation wherever I want to because I can afford it, rather than making the wrong decision for the wrong reasons. For example, drawing area, I mentioned that. If we were in town or inland and we picked the right market with the right factors of income in place, because we don't necessarily want to choose the popular thinking these days is, well, I want to practice where the growing area of town is. This is typically where the highest rent is. It's also where what we call white collar versus blue collar. Well, white collar is going to be more expensive, and it's going to be more difficult to retain that business. It's just a factor. Whether or not you're aware of that or not at this point, it's a consideration that you need to be aware of. So picking the right market is not just throwing a dart. It's not believing what the professor told you at school, which was, hey, everybody out there needs you. Just drive down the road until you run out of gas. Jump out of the car, cut down a tree, build a table, hang a shingle, and you will be successful. Folks, if that's what you've heard, then if you get anything out of this message, understand that is an absolute lie. You have got to make good, sound business decisions, and picking the right market is one factor that will impact your entire career, because most chiropractors, if they're not successful in their first outing, their first venture, most of them, a high percentage of them, do not ever go back into individual practice again. So I encourage you, take time to really understand why and how do we pick a proper market. Because again, I say, go where the opportunities are, where the potential is, where there's not as much competition, or there's a larger drawing area. These are all factors. What kind of people live in the general area? We're not trying to open a Home Depot or a Walmart or anything like that. We're trying to open a chiropractic practice that's going to be has a much potential and opportunity to serve that particular community. And more importantly, again, when I say drawing area, think of it, do we want to just practice on the south side of town and service just the people on the south side, or would we prefer to service people in a tri-state area? So when I talk about drawing area, there's a lot that goes into picking the right market. And I mentioned location. Location is another factor that people have the wrong thinking. I don't know if they get this from school or not, but some people think, well, I need to pay attention to traffic count. I need to be, again, in that growing area out where the biggest, newest retail areas are. That is farthest from the truth. You do not want to get yourself into a high rent district right off the bat, which increases the overhead. I talk about overhead from a factor of opening a practice. If I can control the overhead, then I control the profit. It's not about how much money or gross revenue we can produce. It's how much gross revenue we can produce that equals a substantial net revenue. I'm never concerned so much as how much we're going to gross. It's how much we're going to net. And if we just make the wrong decisions going in, choosing the wrong market, and then we choose the wrong location with that high rent, and we think traffic count's going to be critical. Well, let me tell you, from somebody that's opened hundreds of clinics personally, and I'm overseeing thousands, let me tell you, traffic count does not impact a service-oriented business like chiropractic. You're not going to get enough walk-in business off of your location to pay for the higher rent. I'll give you one factor right here. Choosing the right location does not need to be based on traffic count. However, it does need to be based on landmark, because most people are going to find you through Google search. They're going to put it into their Maps app, and they're going to find your location regardless based on what they have in their hand anyway. So, and if they do happen to call the office to make an appointment without making an appointment on your app, well, guess what? You're going to say, well, do you know where the such and such bank is on such and such road? Yes. Or do you know where the Ace Hardware is on such and such? Yes. Okay, you go a block past that, turn left, we're on your right. In other words, chiropractic practices, the most successful ones, or the most successful based on net revenue, are typically going to be found on the off-road locations. See, folks, what I'm trying to tell you is there's 1,000 different choices and decisions that you'll make in opening a chiropractic office, but choosing the right market and choosing the right location are critical components that will impact the net revenue, the prosperity, the longevity. You know, when you're picking that location, also consider this. If we're comparing two different locations, are you prepared to make the right choices on what kind of lease would you sign? What length of lease? What kind of rent can you afford? How about the square footage? Well, do you look at this and go, well, I can get 600 square foot here, but for over here, I can get 1,400 square foot, or I'm going to sign a lease on this one for 7 years and it's 2,800 square foot. Well, how much square footage do you really need, and how do you lay out that location? In other words, the floor plan that's going to be laid out in that location, the patient flow is really a lot more important than the actual square footage. These are all factors, these are all decisions, and if you're not prepared to make them, I'm afraid that you'll make the wrong decision on any one of those factors, and that will impact your potential. And if You're affecting your potential. That means you're affecting the longevity and you're increasing the rate of failure. So again, folks, I'm just trying to share some general knowledge from opening, like I said, thousands of clinics over the years with an extremely high success rate. And these are just two of the factors that are critical components to your success. And ultimately, that's what I'm here for, is I want you to live the abundant, successful life that you so deserve. Because as chiropractors, you do more for humanity in one day than most, in my opinion, attorneys do in a lifetime. You deserve to be successful. I want to see you successful. And these are factors that you need to consider.
Thanks for joining us today. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel to get notified whenever we post new content. Check the description for more ways to get our content. And if you'd like more information about AMC and how it might help your practice, reach out to us at amcfamily.com.